legendary Lake Champlain, Burlington, Vermont. Possibly the hottest combination smallmouth and largemouth fishery in North America. Site of the big Kmart $409,450 Bassmaster Top 150. Veteran anglers and rising bass pros will put it all on the line here on TNN Outdoors.
Hello, I'm Fish Fishburne with well-known Top 150 Pro and co-host Shaw Grigsby.
Thanks, Fish. And welcome to all the Bassmasters viewers. Fish, I don't know of a setting more beautiful or a lake more productive than Vermont's Lake Champlain.
150-mile-long Lake Champlain is known for good-sized smallmouths. On day one, the lake is ultra clear. Water temperature is around 68 degrees.
It's early fall. Air temperatures are in the 50s in the morning, 70s in the afternoon. A drought has brought the lake down almost 3 feet, and that could keep many of the anglers out of the shallows.
Shaw, everybody loves this lake for a variety of reasons.
Boy, this is a great place.
And it's probably the best lake all around I've ever fished.
I think Champlain is probably the best fishery in the country.
I'll tell you, Fish, this is an incredible fishery.
As you know, Fish, there's something for every bass fisherman on Lake Champlain.
There sure is, Shaw. Let's see how Lake Champlain treated the anglers on day one.
Randy Fight is leading the field with a 22-pound, 2-ounce stringer for first place on day one. Sean Penn, at just under 21 pounds, is in second place. Takahiro Amore, Robert Soley, and Mike Iaconelli round out the top 5.
We'll be right back with more from the big Kmart Bassmaster Vermont Top 150 right after this. Hurricane Floyd pounded the East Coast, bringing high winds and colder temperatures to Lake Champlain by the end of day 2.
The weather's definitely going to play a key factor. We've been very fortunate the last 2 days. I've been able to run. I'm running about 45 to 55 miles, somewhere in that range. And I was a little scared today. I caught the majority of my fish by about 9:30, but I decided to leave about 10:30 because it was forecasted to blow, 20, 25 with gusts of 35. And I didn't want to worry about getting back. So I left my fish about 10:30. It probably could have actually caught a couple more good ones, but it didn't blow. So when I got back and I was driving back, it was a little frustrating because the lake was kind of calm. And I was like, man, I really could be fishing down here still right now. But I think I made a good decision. It's really starting to blow now. And if it blows tomorrow, as hard as it's starting to blow now, there's odds are I won't be able to get to my fish. And I'll have to stay somewhere around here and try and catch me a limited smallmouth that will weigh anywhere from 12 to 17 pounds, hopefully. But I sure would like to get to my largemouth and see if I could pull one more big bag.
Fish, that's when the ability to develop new strategies and adjust quickly can be the key to survival in these tough tournament conditions. Let's check out some action from day 2. One of Japan's top bass fishermen, Takahiro Amore, held down 3rd place after day 1. Let's see if his pattern's still holding up.
Can't believe it. This many fish still here. I take it. So many fish is here. I just figure out a little bit now. But now I throw back 2.5 pounder. I keep 3.5 pounder in my rod. That's funny, I just saw the stump right here. That flip. That had a 3 pounder. The same stump I hit Tony Motor minutes ago. That flip. That had a 3.5 pounder. There's so many fish live here. Usually you can't do that.
Oh, another one. Golly. Same stump. I can see that. 2 foot. Can't believe it, this many fish in this lake. Excellent.
Our crew also caught up with top 150 rookie Mike Iaconelli, currently in 5th place.
The type of areas that I'm keen in on are shallow areas. They're bays, they're coves off of the main lake. These are areas where the largemouth live all year round. And I think the key to my pattern versus a lot of other people, there are some other people in some of the areas I'm fishing. I think the key, how I'm fishing a little different than these other guys, is that I'm fishing shallower. I mean, the deepest water that I'm fishing is 7-8 foot, and that's 1 or 2 places I have that are 7-8 foot. The majority of my fish are coming 3 to 4 foot of water.
Rick Clunn's strategy involved flipping around wood.
Me and my brother Randy found some fish about 3 days ago way up north on wood, and we decided to try to share it because we felt like it was a good place to catch big streams because we could catch some largemouth in there, and that's what you need to really get over that 16, 17 pound hump most of the time. And so far, it's pretty well panned out. My execution has prevented me from doing as well as Randy, but still, it's not the fish's fault. I mean, the fish are there, they're biting, and I've been basically on that wood. I've been flipping on a 25-pound XL, Bass Pro Shop XL line, a Lucky Strike tube, flipping tube, and basically just flip around that wood and just working back and forth on it. Have caught a few fish on Stanley Viper Shaft spinnerbait, but those are mostly when I go fish for smallmouth later in the day.
Rick Clunn and Randy Fight fished the northern part of the lake on day 2, and I had a chance to talk to them at weigh-in. Fight leading the tournament with over 22 pounds yesterday. Watch the scale today. All largemouth bass, 18 pounds. 5 ounces, mark at 18.5. Randy, let's talk for a second. What's the difference today?
Well, I actually got more bites today. I just didn't get this. I had a 5'10" and another 5-pound largemouth yesterday. I'm in a good area. I've got all to myself, basically, and, you know, if I can get a 2 or 3 quality bites, I'll be okay.
As you can see, the weather really got nasty by the end of day 2.
These anglers are getting pounded by the elements, and they've got to be wondering what's in store for the next couple of days.
At the end of day 2, New Jersey's Mike Iaconelli moves into 1st place with a 2-day total of 43 pounds, 12 ounces.
Randy Fight moves down to 2nd, and he's followed by Randy Dearman, Skeet Reeves, and Lake Fork Mark Pack.
Day 3 on Vermont's Lake Champlain after this.
Welcome back to the Bassmaster's Top 150 on Vermont's Lake Champlain. If we had a winner for day 3, it would have to be Floyd. Hurricane Floyd, that is, whose tropical storm-like conditions forced cancellation of the 3rd day of fishing.
You know, we knew that Hurricane Floyd was coming up the East Coast, and we hoped we could get the first 4 days in before it hit, but we unfortunately were not able to. Today, which is the 3rd day of the event, is the day really that Floyd came through early this morning. We had wind gusts in excess of 50 miles an hour today, and it was a no-brainer. I mean, the tournament had to be canceled, and we had to call the day. So we ended the tournament. The top 10 guys, really 11 guys, because there's a tie for 10th place, are going to fish tomorrow, and we're just going to have a 3-day event this week instead of a 4-day event.
This is the first. With day 3 canceled, there's a lot at stake for the 11 anglers whose day 2 totals qualified them for the finals on Saturday.
Our leader going into the 4th and final day, Michael Iaconelli, weighed in a 5-fish limit on day 1 of 19 pounds, 12 ounces, and a 2nd day limit of 5 fish weighing 24 pounds. But he's not sure if his pattern will hold up much longer.
I still firmly believe I want to catch 1 or 2 largemouth today, 4 or 5 pounds. So I'm not really getting too nervous yet, you know. I've only been to one of my largemouth places. I got about 5 or 6 others that I want to hit. So I want to keep working this till about 11 o'clock or until I think the school is depleted. So, well, whichever comes first. This tube is critical to how I'm catching these fish right now. Most of them now, after I caught that initial wave active fish, most of them now don't want to be bothered with the jerkbait. They're just reacting on it. So this tube is critical right now to my success in this area.
Rick Clunn continued fishing wood at about that 8 to 14 foot depth.
And Shaw, he's still flipping that tube. It's a Lucky Strike 4.5 inch tube. It looks like it's a dark color. And you'll notice that this video of Clunn that's being shot is from his amateur in the back of the boat. And that was about a 4-pound bass. His amateur is sitting on the back seat and he's taping Rick. There's not a camera boat there, so he caught this on his own video. There's about a 4-pounder, and you can see the tube right there. And Clunn's boat flipping these bass. He's not using a net. This is the first year that the Bassmasters have allowed using a dip net, which really increases the catch. But Clunn right there, a 3.5, 4-pound bass, isn't even using his net, and that goes to show you something. This guy is unbelievable. He's Mr. Consistency called on the trail. And right here now you can see he's adjusting his drag. He's got a big fish on. And Clunn, if he's over 3.5, 4 pounds, he is going for the net. I thought he might do it right there. Clunn is reaching for his dip net. There's a problem. He threw the net down. The net's probably hung up in another rod and a lure. So Clunn's going to have to reach down, and he looks like he's going to hand line this fish in. He's dropped his rod, and he's reaching for him. He's got him. There's about a 4.5 pounder. And if Clunn keeps fishing like that, he's going to move way up. Now here's an interesting twist. We've got Randy Fight, who on the final day coming in is in 2nd place, and he's sharing the fishing waters with his stepbrother, Rick Clunn. Now, Rick Clunn is right down the way there. Oh, Fight just missed one.
I let him go a little too far to one direction. I just went to a heavier slip sinker. I just don't quite think I have the right fall today. The wind's blowing just enough, and now the direction where it's blowing my line and pulling this tube pulls real easy. Therefore, any pressure on the line, it won't fall straight. And if you can get it to fall straight, it will fall with a little bit of a spiral. I think that's important. And I went to a heavier slip sinker trying to get it to fall straighter down.
Now, Randy Fight is only about 3 pounds behind the leader, Michael Iaconelli. And if he and Clunn keep catching bass like they're doing on those tube lures, I'll tell you what, this is going to be a close one. Lake Champlain has proven time and time again that it is absolutely stuffed with giant smallmouth bass. But these two anglers, Clunn and Fight, are catching primarily largemouth. As a matter of fact, there's another big fish that he just netted, and I haven't seen either one of these anglers on the video catch a smallmouth bass. So they are working hard and moving up.
Here I'm fishing a lot of heavy wood cover, and I'm using an extremely heavy action castaway flipping stick with 25-pound line, so that when you do get a bite, you're able to really set the hook hard, move that fish up away from the cover as much as possible, and then horse him into the boat as quickly as possible before he wraps you up in some of the other cover that's around.
Mike Iaconelli fished hard and furious for his shot at the winner's take on that final day. His largemouth pattern wasn't working, so he went after the much more reliable smallmouth.
And Shaw, let me tell you, these smallmouth have been reliable on Lake Champlain this week. These guys are catching the fire out of these big smallmouth, and you'll notice Iaconelli's all over the boat. It looks like he's out of control, but I'll tell you, he's using a lot of energy. The kid's nervous. It's his first opportunity to win a top 150. He's won invitational tournaments with the Bassmasters before, but to win a top 150 is his goal. He's got that fish in the boat. That looked like about a 2.5 pounder. I don't know if that's going to help him. Now, he's got another fish on right here, and Iaconelli has been targeting the shallow flats off of some points, and I'll tell you, he's got some super-duper areas to fish.
All right. Woo! Looks like I got a good school of smallmouth working here. That one's about 3 pounds. I know there's bigger because I saw one about 5 in the pack. Every time I approach my buoy that I dropped, I catch a fish. There's probably something real subtle down there, a rock or a hole in this grass that a lot of these wolf packs key on. And you'll catch 20 or 30 fish off one little area, so that's going to help.
What are you using today?
I'm using a reaction type of lure. This is a jerkbait by Bomber. It's a long A. It's in a clown color. Basically, the reason I chose this bait is it's a real confidence bait for me anytime I get around smallmouth. I've caught them on Erie on this. I've caught them on Ontario. And it's just a really good bait. It gets the fish aggressive. It makes them want to chase it because of the bright colors. And I'm just reeling it really fast, trying to get a reaction bite off of these fish. I don't have much of a net left.
Now, you know, he said he doesn't have much of a net left, and let's hope that doesn't come back to haunt him. Because when you cut a bait out of a net, you've got to be really careful. I'm sure that Michael probably has a grip on it and wouldn't do anything that could possibly cost him in the future. All right, now he's got another big smallmouth on. It looks like he's still throwing that jerk bait. And Ike and Nellie is fishing these flats, and you don't see any other boats around him. I think that's a pretty neat deal. He's got it all to himself right here, and he's going down for that big small. Oh, he blew it! The fish went through the hole.
Did you see that? He slipped through the hole in the net.
Michael, unbelievable. I'll tell you what, one man's misfortune is another man's good fortune. We'll see how it turns out for you later in the... Oh, my gosh, did you see the rod blow out of the boat? A smallmouth must have come up and grabbed the bait while it was hanging over the edge, and he's got him. He's got about a 3-pounder. It's unreal. I can't believe he's got this bass. He was going for his other bait.
I put the other rod down, grabbed my other rod to catch the fish, and he come up and eat it anyway. That's too expensive of a rod, little fish, to be taken under. Good fish, too. He ain't gonna work, though. How about that? That was weird. I never seen anything like that in my life.
Mike Iaconelli is on a roll, back-to-back smallmouth catches, and one of the strangest, most amazing things I've ever seen in bass fishing. Let's get ready and roll a replay on this rod-stealing smallmouth.
You know, Fish, there's a tournament rule about fishing with only one rod at a time. But Mike actually never got a cast off with his second rod, so that fish was totally legal. Unfortunately, it didn't help him out for his total stringer, but what a neat catch.
As hard as Mike was fishing, his day 4 catch still wasn't enough to beat Rick Clunn's stringer for the day. All right, we're going to weigh him. Watch the weight for Clunn. 22 pounds, 2 ounces. 22.2, Rick, it's close. Give him a round of applause. What an effort. Look at this. Woo! Look at the largemouth. But Iaconelli's 3-day total catch was enough to hold off the always competitive Clunn and claim first place. 61 pounds and 3 ounces. 61.3.
Let's go to the leaderboard. Rick Clunn, even with those huge largemouth, had to settle for second. Day 1 leader Randy Fight finishes 3rd overall, followed by David Fritz, Mark Pack, Randy Dearman, and Dion Hibden.
Zell Rowland finished 8th, trailed by Takahiro Amori, Skeet Reese, and Stanley Mitchell.
There's more to come from Vermont right after this. Welcome back to the Bassmasters. You know, Fish, I thought I'd seen it all at Lake St. Clair, but this lake was simply incredible. We had every element for a great tournament on Lake Champlain here. Smallmouth, largemouth, veteran pros, and up-and-coming stars.
Plus, we had a bit of tricky weather to keep everybody on their toes on the tournament trail. And that's where the skill and experience of these anglers comes in. You know, they change their patterns to adjust to the changes in the weather and the feeding habits of the bass.
Absolutely. Now, Fish, let's take one last look at Lake Champlain's winning patterns. Pro Rick Clunn fished waters around pilings using a Lucky Strike flipping tube. Clunn caught some smallmouth, but most were largemouth at around 7 to 17 feet deep.
For smallies, Iaconelli threw a clown-colored long A bomber jerkbait and a man's 3/4-ounce Thai Classic chartreuse and white spinnerbait. It also had gold blades, and under a fast retrieve over a rocky flat in shallow water, that's what you need. For largemouth, Iaconelli ended up pitching a 1/2-ounce jig, black and blue in color, with an Uncle Josh J. Frog trailer around boat docks, sailboats, reeds, and other objects in about 4 feet of water or less.
Let's go to this week's Pro Pointer with our winner, Mike Iaconelli.
The #1 bait I'm catching 90% of my largemouth on is basically a jig. It's The reason that I chose that is kind of twofold. The number one reason I chose it is because of the type of areas I'm fishing. I think it's the best presentation-wise. Fishing areas that have a lot of grass. And the way I'm fishing this jig, it gets into the pockets of the grass, it gets underneath the docks or underneath of some tire systems, or I'm fishing near some reeds, it gets into the reeds, and it comes down clean, no weeds on it, and it's more like a reaction strike. And I could also work this bait for a couple feet without getting a lot of weeds tangled on it. So I'm using a jig. The second reason I chose a jig is because I have supreme confidence in a jig. I mean, I'm a power fisherman, so anytime I get on a tournament and I get down a bank where I can throw a jig, I try to go to that bait because it's one of my strengths. So anytime I'm enter a tournament where that bait can come into effect, I try to go to it. So that's the second reason I'm using a jig.
With such an abundance of fish, Champlain is definitely a dream lake.
And it was a great setting for this exciting showdown at the big Kmart Bassmaster $400,000 Top 150.
We'll see you next time on the Bassmaster. Till then, good luck
and good fishing.
Another one. Golly.